Hey, welcome to Sticky Situation. Where am I today? I am doing a tile job, a tub surround for my friend. Why am I doing that? Because when a friend asks for help, you give it to them. Learn that, do it, I believe in it. Always help your friends. So, what I've been doing here is, you can see I already started it, got most of it done. We're doing just a tile backsplash on this one. So it'll be a surround. I've just got to finish this back wall, do around the window and stuff. That's what I've got left, so I've already started doing it. But I didn't have time to film that part because I was busy working with my friend. But I finally have time today, so I'm going to kind of show you how I do a tub surround. It's not overly complicated. The hardest thing is making sure all your design lines up, because a lot of times you're wrapping and it comes out in weird angles. You have a lot of different cuts that you end up having to do on it. Unless you're lucky and all your tiles are exactly that size. And a lot of times that's the way it is. You'll buy your tiles and they'll be exactly the size of the tub from here over. So it'll be like, oh, it's 4 tiles long. That's great. Well, unfortunately these aren't that way. The tiles we're using are these long subway tiles. They're really nice. They got a cool wave to them. You can see kind of in the light there that they've got some decorative wave on it. I really like how they've turned out so far. I'll do a close-up on this far wall. So I did this far wall about 2 weeks ago, and then I went on vacation, and in the meantime we got it grouted because the plumbers were coming in to redo all the plumbing, so we wanted to have the backsplash at least done on that side so they could put the tub in and stuff. So the problem with this tub is it's a little bit different than normal because the tub is shorter than a normal size tub. So it's like, it's probably about 3 inches shorter than a normal tub. And the bathroom is built for a normal size tub, so we've had to do some weird kind of extension things to make it look good. So like you can see on these parts, I've had to put in this quarter round curve on here because I had to stick the tile away from the wall, so I had to put a tile backer board into there and then do this so this would stick out and look normal. I could have done it straight against the wall, but the biggest problem I have is this far side, and you can see we had to put a layer of sheetrock behind that one too, so it's really made that one stick out a lot farther. Normally you'd put it flush against the wall here and your quarter round, you're just going to put your edge there, it's going to be fine. But in this case it wasn't that, so I've had to push it away from the wall a bit and so that it would fit and lap the tub just right, because you want your tile pieces to come down and lap up right here on the bottom part. And so that's what I've done all the way around. Sorry, a little bouncy camera here in a tight spot. So I've done that all the way around. You can see how it kind of laps the tub. That way when the water hits, it just goes right down to the tub and then flows into the tub. There's no way it's going to go back up in there. So I had to do a little bit of fancy stuff. We're going to have to figure out what we do here. I might have to put another piece underneath this quarter round and lift the quarter round out probably another 1/4 of an inch so that blends better. Normally my tiles would come all the way down to the base, and so they'd come actually out past this wall and then go all the way down on both sides, so it actually stick out past the tub a little bit. That's the way I like to do it, just so that it gives a little bit more protection for water and stuff coming on the back. Plus generally that's the length of your tiles are going to go a little bit past there, and then if you do a decorative edge or something, it'll be on that. So this one's, as you can see, it's turned out pretty nice. We just got the grout in on this side up here just so we could get the faucet in, but I still have this bottom part to do, and I've got this part. I just finished putting this upper part in, and I just had those last couple pieces up there to trim it up at the top. This middle part's going to be a tad bit harder just because I've got to get it so that it goes good and covers the window, so it'll wrap around the window nice and give me a good design. I'm going to use these curved pieces that have a little lip on it, so they'll sit over it, and then I can tuck my tile right up against it. So the key to doing tile while you're doing a bathroom thing is you want to start with your centerpiece. So I drew a center line, which is right down here, down the middle of my thing. So I started my centerpieces in here, and I go to the edge and I'm cutting the edges so that my sharp edges stay in the corners. Or, you know, if you're lucky, then you don't have a sharp edge because you haven't cut it and tiles are exactly the right size. Not the case on this one. I'm about that much too short or too long on my tiles, so I've got to cut them down. So I had to cut my two end pieces, just trimming them off a little bit so that they equal out even on these center. Same thing I did on these side walls here. Started in the center with my center line, and then calculated what I was going to need from the outside. So that's kind of how you do your measurements. Start in the center, build it out, then do your end pieces so your end corners kind of lap a little bit better down in there. Then you can decide whether you're doing a long to a short or short to long, and it just kind of, then you can put caulking seam down those edges, or else just, even if I just do a grout seam down there, it's going to look nice and not be bad. So that is my goal on that. That is what I'm working on and where I'm going to go. So I'll show you how I do those tiles. It's not very scary. I mean, the tiles do stick to the wall good. I've just used regular, these are, what do you call them? They're not hardy back or cement board. This is just regular sheetrock, but it's the waterproof type sheetrock that it's okay. It doesn't mold. It doesn't do any of that stuff. So it's got the protective paper on it. So I can just use my thin set mortar, put it right against that, and then go right up. They don't fall off. It's nice. Doing the ceiling, that's a little bit of a different story. That's a little bit harder, but I'm only doing up to the ceiling on this job. So let's get working on it. So the mud I use, you do want it kind of thick. You don't want it like, you want it to slump a little bit, but you want it good peanut butter consistency so that it'll stick on the wall good without any problems. That's really the only thing you have to be. If it's too runny and wet, it will just slide down the wall. So you want a good slump to it. Make sure you have a good mixture on that. But other than that, it's fairly simple. Just put it in and get started. Where I've already measured my center lines, I know my end cuts now. I can just kind of start on one side and go side to side. It's not as big a deal. So let's put the mud on. I'm just using this 1/2 inch notch trowel to do it, and then my spacers in between each one of these are my 1/8 inch little spacers. They're very tiny, so there's not a big gap in it. It's pretty small, but I am putting a little bit of a gap in it, which is the best way to do it in my opinion, because that way when you mess up, people can't tell as easy because it just kind of blends in with the grout. So let's get on with it. So what I do, people call this buttering the tile. So I put my base coat on underneath. I only did a couple rows because no big deal. I can do the rest up later. I don't want to do it all the way up because sometimes it takes me a little bit of time and it dries out and then it's a little bit harder. So I do it just enough to go up a couple rows and then I'll put some more. But what I do here with my other brick, or my tile, is I butter my tile. Some people do, some people don't. It's personal preference. When I'm doing it on the walls, I do butter it because it tends to help it stick better. So the suction of the mortar to the mortar holds it on better. It's not a thick coat, it's pretty thin, and just enough to get it on there, enough to give it on the edge. Then I'll just take this piece, put it right in here like that. Jiggle it in there. And then take my spacers. If I have it squirting out of the cracks a little bit, sometimes I'll just take my spacer and scoop it along there. Just because that saves me the trouble of when it dries to go, because you have to go in there and clean out the mortar to keep it nice and good and level. Now that I got my edge piece in, I can just do my full strips across. Full strips or course. Same thing where I butter them. Just put a slight coat on there. I don't want too much on there. When I push it in, it'll all ooze out the cracks, because the thing that takes the skill on this is making sure that you're all level across so that all of your pieces down here are the same depth back in, so you don't have some sticking out and sticking in farther and vice versa. So push them in, get them as level as I can. It's a little bit harder with these ones because they're wavy, but I can kind of see where they need to be. Pick them up, put my spacers in. Usually put a spacer on both edges, check my center, make sure it's good too. And then I'll put one down here at the end, push the tile hard against that. And push again, make sure that I'm level out, kind of flush down in here. And go on to the next one. Well, the hard part about these wavy bricks, these wavy tiles, is when I'm doing them flush on there, they're not always going to be the same. See how that's a different thickness? So even though I'm good all the way down there, it may be, when I'm butting it up against that wall, it's sticking out because it's fatter down here. It's going to push it a little bit farther out, which throws my tile size off. So I almost have to trim every single row a little bit to make sure that it goes right. Like this one, it comes in exactly, it's fine on the top, but it's a little bit off on the bottom because it sticks out. So I'm going to have to go and saw that corner off a bit. If they were just regular flat tiles, you just butt it right up in there, it'd be easy. But they look nice, but they're not always easy. So I'm going to go trim this one and we'll get back to it. Alright, so I'm at a dilemma. So we got this fancy border here, but they're only this size. They're only come in these same 12-inch pieces. And no matter how I do it, there's a gap. And it looks weird if I do it any other way, so I gotta 45 it and put it down onto here. Which is fine, but it leaves a gap about like that big on both sides. So I was thinking about doing some half pieces and cutting the 45 down to half, but then I have my lines all even on those sides, so that one goes up. So at least if I have it this way, the lines don't match. It's going to be the same on this wall too, coming up. The same exact amount of spacing, everything else, where I've got a gap that's about that big from here to the center. And there's really nothing else I can think to do about it. So, that's my question. Do I just do these 4 little gap things in there and hope that it doesn't look too weird? Or should I have done a half here and then cut these ones down? Well, even then a full from there puts me just past. And then I just have to cut the angle pieces all. Where does that put me at on the angle? So I just have 4-inch angle pieces. Dilemmas. I was thinking maybe if I just do a a tile here in the center and 2 fulls on the side, and just cut my corners down. Probably gonna look better than a little teeny gap right there. Guess we'll see. I'll try that and see what happens. It's a lot of cutting, a lot of weird angles, a lot of measuring. So we'll see. Alright, so that should do it for today because, well, I've run out of tiles, so I still got a little bit more to go on this thing and then we'll be all set. But yeah, I think doing it the halfway like that turned out pretty nice, going up and around. It'll be even all the way around. Turned out pretty good. I like kind of how that went. And then of course I put these ones here at a little bit of a slant so that when water hits back in there, it'll flow back into the tub. So I just gotta go around that way and finish up the top edge of the wall. I'll show you what's still up there. So it gets up to the top of the bill, so I've got close up there, probably another 50 tiles more to go on it, but at least got to the base of the window. And didn't want to have to mix more mud or just for the 6 tiles that I did have. I mean, I probably could have finished up to here today, but that's alright. So I'll finish it up in the next couple days, but you're probably not going to see the final thing. Maybe I'll get a picture of it when we're all done, tack it to the end of this video. But for now, that's how I do some surround tiles. Turns out pretty nice. I like it. I've done some really nice ones at my own house. Some fancy ones, doing a couple cool designs with diamond shapes and other stuff like that. I always have fun doing tile. I really do like tile. It's one of the fun things that I enjoy. I mean, I really kind of enjoy everything that has to do with building, but tile's right up there with my favorite. Things like sheetrocking and roofing and insulation, not my favorite, but tile, always a good time. Alright, I got all the tile in up here. Got the design border all done. Everything put together. I just got to finish up the grout today. Well, I got to clean out the spaces in between so that I can put the grout in. So let me zoom in for it so you can see that. I did grout this side the other day, so that one's coming in. So we have that side grouted and that side grouted. Just got to finish this last little bit. So let's get to work on that. Finish this job, make it so my friends can move in and we're all good. That's what we want. So we'll get to work. So the grout that I'm using is this Flex color. It's a ready-use grout, so it's already mixed. You don't have to add water to it. You don't have to do anything. I've never used this before. I've always done the powder grout where you mix it in, you add your water and you mix it, which I like a little bit better because it flows smoother. This stuff feels like it's got Elmer's glue in it or something. So when you put it on, it kind of sticks a lot better. So maybe in that sense, it's more waterproof, more protective. I don't know. I do know that I have to clean it up real fast after, as it bonds to the porcelain tiles real quick, and that's hard to get off. You have to sit there and scrub it. It's like sanding through your sponges. It's really hard. So I like it because I don't have to mix it, but it's, yeah, the application's a little bit harder. Once it dries, it's just, yeah, it bonds really solid. So you gotta make sure that as you're doing it, like before with my regular powder grout, I mix a batch, I can do the whole wall, then come back, you know, after I've done the whole wall, and then clean it up with the sponge, and it would clean up fine. I wouldn't have any problem with it. This stuff, I did half this wall and then came back and tried to clean it, and it already bonded to it, so my sponge just ripped my sponge apart. So then I had to get it really, really wet again before I could clean it off. And so it's kind of a pain that way. So, but this is what I'm using. Turns out all right. After it's all said and done, it's a little bit more grainy in it. I guess more sanded, it looks like, on this part, whereas my other grout kind of has a sanding underneath it, but then it has a smoother finish on the top. I don't know how to explain that. It's just kind of the way it is. So I think I like the powder grout better than this stuff, but it's what we're using, so we're gonna do that today. I'm just using a rubber grout float. It's got the hard plastic on this side to do this, which actually works a little bit better with this grout. All right, so I got it all done. Still needs to, I got to come over and do another wet wipe off it about 2 more times to get all the film layer off. This, like I said, that grout, the problem with it is it leaves a really sticky film over everything. Normally it's like 3 passes and the grout's clean. It'll maybe have a dust film, but then once you clean it off over time, it goes away. But yeah, this stuff, I mean, I've run over it 4 times and it still has this weird tacky feeling to it. But anyway, we're all done, and that makes me happy because my friend wants to move back into his house, and you gotta have a bathroom and place to have in your house in order to move in. So he can now do that, and I'm excited to have another project done out of the way. So here's a quick look at it, how it turned out. Kind of saw what it was before, but we'll do the long distance view of it. So yeah, turned out pretty nice. I'm happy with it. I mean, as always, I see the imperfections because I look and I know where they're at. Maybe other people won't, but I always like doing a good grout job because it fills in most of my little teeny mistakes. So there we have it. That's doing a tile backsplash around the bathtub. Not too difficult. Probably took me a total of 30 hours, which is probably a lot of time for some people. If you're a professional and do this all the time, probably a lot quicker. But where I had to come just only a couple times a week, it took me a lot longer because I have to do a little bit of work, then stop, clean all my tools. But if I could have done it all in one time, it might have been easier. Anyway, that's what it is. So just remember, stick with it. You got this. And please don't forget to subscribe and give me a like. And if you have any comments or questions on anything, you think, hey, you could do this better, or hey, don't do that, please leave comments down below because I'm always ready to learn more, because that's what life's all about, learning more things and working, right? Oh, and occasionally having fun. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I really appreciate all the people that stick around and watch my videos. It really helps a lot. So we'll see you on the next one.